Let's take a look at the steps required to upgrade from Workbench 0.17 to 0.18, and then we're going to apply the 0.18 hotfix. This is 0.17. You can tell that it's not the .18 release because the .18 release has the tools split into two groupings. So let's start from this point here. We'll shut that down. And now let's start a browser and go to the TribeLab community site. We're going to log in. Okay, and now go to Downloads and download release.18. Now before I run the installer, I'm going to back up some of the my important files. So the first thing is my workspace, and that's this projects folder here. So maybe one thing to do there is just to compress it into a zip. So the time it takes to do that and the space required, and you can see there's quite a bit of space in my case, will depend very much on the amount of data you actually have imported into the workspace, on the number of filter files you've generated during investigations, and they go into the workspace as well, and any cached conversions that have been cached by the transformers. If you want to reduce the amount of data you want to back up, then you could open up those projects and maybe clear the cache files and even delete the filtered files. But I'd do this and then I'd copy this off onto a USB drive or something else. The other area we need to cover is actually the app data directory. And we want to go into this one here, Workbench, and you can see I've done this before. Let's get rid of that one actually, and all I do is I zip all of this lot up and again send that to a compressed folder very quick because there's not a great deal of data there, as you can see, and again I'd copy that off onto a USB drive just for safekeeping. In my case actually I'm working on a VM and I've taken a snapshot of the VM anyway, so I have that luxury to fall back on if all goes wrong. Anyway, we're now ready to install the new version of Workbench, so let's do that. Okay, that's done. Now I did have a problem when I was testing this earlier, that when I clicked on my previous Workbench shortcut, okay, I've got a new, I think there's an issue with the kicker being slightly different. That's the program that starts Workbench, and it actually said invalid shortcut, and all I did was I deleted the old shortcut from, or unpinned it from the taskbar, and then repinned the shortcut back. So I can show you how I do that actually. So if we just go into here, into program files, into the Workbench folder, find workbench.exe, which is way down here, and I simply right click on that and then say, in my case it would say pin to taskbar, saying unpin because obviously I've already got an item pinned there, but you just click on that and that will pin that to the taskbar. Okie dokie. So you can see that the look and feel of 018 is slightly different in that the tools are now grouped. Another thing I noticed when I tested this upgrade earlier was that I ended up with the network tools here, and they also appeared at the start of the guest group. Now all I did was I stopped Workbench and restarted it, and it sorted it all out for me. So if you do end up with these tiles at the start of this list, just stop Workbench and restart it, and that should sort it out for you. So that's done everything I need to do to get to 018. So just to give you an idea, if you're not sure which release you're on, if you're on a release any earlier, these are the build releases, 1.0.6556. If you're running anything earlier than that build, then you're on an older version, 0.17 or earlier of Workbench. So let's carry on. Next step is to install the hotfix. So let's download that. As you can see, it's quite small, and let's run that. And that's it. You won't actually see anything very different in Workbench. The hotfix simply replaces one DLL in the installation directory. You can see everything here looks exactly the same. You won't actually see anything different in the way Workbench works. Now the next thing you would do is open up each of the workspaces that you've used and save those away again. This is just so that the workspace metadata gets updated. There's a strange setting in the metadata that needs to be corrected. Once you've done this and applied the patch, the hotfix, you can use anything in release.18. It will all work as it should. There's no problem with installing the hotfix. It doesn't do anything nasty. Everything should work just as normal. But what you will need to do is, in each case, for each workspace that you want to carry forward to the .19 release, you will have to save away each of these workspaces so that we have that updated metadata. Simplest thing to do is just open it quickly, and then I just press Ctrl S and you can see it just immediately saves that. And then we can close that workspace and open up another just to again to correct that. Again, press Ctrl S, that's saved that one, and we can keep working through them and updating them. That's it. That's what's needed. I'm sorry you're having to go through this additional patch step, but unfortunately it was something that we simply couldn't avoid.